Super Mario Maker released in 2015 for Mario's 30th anniversary, and it was the first time ever that fans could officially make Mario levels and even share them. Even though the Wii U flopped, Super Mario Maker was still incredibly popular, and that led to a sequel just a few years later. The sequel wasn't groundbreaking, but it gave us a new theme, some new items, and most importantly, slopes. Now with Mario's 40th anniversary coming out, and Mario Maker 2 being 5 years old now, there's a chance we'll get a new installment in the series on Switch 2, and it may just include 3D games. So now what would this look like? Imagine opening the game and instead of just seeing the classic 2D grids of Mario, 1-3 World, or New Super Mario Bros., you're given a full 3D toolkit. Suddenly you could build stages in the style of Super Mario 64, Super Mario Galaxy, Super Mario 3D World, maybe even Super Mario Odyssey. Each of these games has a totally different feel, which means Nintendo would need to give players not just one creative engine, but multiple. A Galaxy editor would let you create planets with gravity mechanics and star hopping challenges. A 64 Odyssey editor would let you design open, sandbox style playgrounds with multiple objectives, and if you want something more linear, the 3D World toolkit would be perfect for building obstacle courses with a clear start and goal flag. Now I know we did get 3D World in Super Mario Maker 2, but that was just a 2D version of it. So what kind of tools would Nintendo need to include to make this work? First off, you need environment editing, not just placing blocks, but being able to sculpt the landscape, raising terrain, carving caves out, placing water, and adding climbable walls. Imagine setting the time of day, choosing weather effects like snowstorms or rain, and even adjusting gravity for Galaxy style levels. Now I think the Galaxy part may be a little confusing. I think Nintendo would probably make it very basic if they include Galaxy. But anyway, let's move on. So what about the enemies also? In 2D you can just drop a Goomba or Koopa and they'll walk in a line, but in 3D it's a lot more complicated. Since the enemies can move in any direction instead of just left or right, it means that there's a lot more opportunities to involve enemies in completing the levels. Then there's also custom objectives. Instead of just reaching the flag, you could design missions like collect 5 red coins, defeat a boss, or bring a key item to a locked door. And again, this was in Super Mario Maker and Super Mario Maker 2 where you could defeat a boss and get a key, but again, it's just very simple. This would be much more complex, more in line with the 3D Mario games that we've seen. And one of the biggest draws of Mario Maker has always been switching between different game engines. Mario 1 feels different than Mario World, which feels different than to New Super Mario Bros. If Nintendo goes 3D, the same philosophy would apply and be even more different. Unlike the 2D games where it's basically just the controls, or sometimes there's a couple extra features, like in New Super Mario Bros. You can wall jump and spin jump, while you can't obviously do that in the other games. The 3D games all control very differently. So let's start with Super Mario 64. Now this is the foundation of 3D Mario. If Nintendo added it as a style, you'd expect the ability to maybe put multiple stars in a level instead of just one. Like imagine if someone can create their own bomb battlefield with different challenges. Maybe there's a red coin challenge, a boss fight just like in the game, maybe even a secret slide hiding away in a cave. Fans could recreate classic levels or invent entirely new playgrounds that feel like lost beta content from 1996. The modding community is very popular in Super Mario 64, so I can already see the ideas that people have for this. Now for Super Mario Sunshine, if I'm being honest, I don't think this would be in it if Nintendo did make a 3D Mario Maker. Let's still talk about it anyway. Sunshine is defined by the Flood Water Pack, which completely changes movement. If Nintendo wanted to go all in, they can make a Sunshine style editor where you place water jets, Slud, and even design levels around cleaning objectives. But again, this is a lot more complicated than something like Super Mario 64, and Super Mario Sunshine is probably the least popular of the mainline 3D Mario games, except maybe 3D Land. I think it would be fun to include this, but if I'm being realistic, I just don't think it would be included. Another one I'm on the fence about is Super Mario Galaxy. Now a Galaxy editor would let you design your own planets with spherical gravity. Like you can string together a series of tiny planetoids, each with its own challenge, one filled with fire bars, another with ice physics, another with enemies swarming you as you try to get a star. The ability to adjust gravitational pull would instantly make for mind-bending fan creations. People would create crazy things in this. Like if you've seen some of the challenges in Super Mario Galaxy mods, it's actually insane what they've done. I think also having Cosmic Mario would be a great idea to make some levels more difficult, but this would be very complicated. I don't know how Nintendo is just going to give the average player of this game the access to adjust gravity like this. I'm sure Nintendo can figure out a way to make it more accessible. I think it's about 50-50 if this would be included. Now one I think would 100% be included if Nintendo did this would be Super Mario 3D World. Now like I said, we did get this in Super Mario Maker 2, but it was basically like a New Super Mario Bros. Style where it's just 2D. You could long jump, spin jump, wall jump, do the things you can do in Super Mario 3D World, except in 2D. This is the simplest of the games that would be in this. All you'd have to do is just have one objective to just get to the flag. There's no crazy physics or anything. You would just place the platforms, conveyor belts, enemies, pipes, anything you want, and the more fixed camera style would also be a lot easier for this. Arguably the most complicated one, besides maybe Galaxy, is Super Mario Odyssey. If Nintendo really wanted to push the envelope, Odyssey would be the ultimate option. Imagine building mini open world kingdoms where Mario has to collect moons through unique tasks. Imagine if you could even place NPCs to have scavenger hunts or design puzzles with cappy captures, and even set custom challenges like time trials. Now, I don't think something like this would happen. I think if Super Mario Odyssey would be in this, it would be just simply finding moons or doing platforming challenges, because then this would be creating like a whole new game instead of just levels, but I think it's still fun to speculate about. Now, the most exciting part of Mario Maker has always been the tools themselves. Like, fans have done some crazy things in Mario Maker and Mario Maker 2. Like, there's been all the music levels, crazy challenges, and then just some beautiful designs. I think if there was 3D, that fans would immediately recreate some old levels, like maybe Peach's Castle, Delfino Plaza, Gusty Garden, New Donk City. It just depends how many features Nintendo actually gives fans, because in the 2D games, there's just very limited assets. In 3D games, they're seemingly infinite, so I don't know how much Nintendo would actually give fans access to. Something I'm really interested in, though, is challenge levels. Like, I used to always play the Super Mario Odyssey challenges back in the day, and I don't mean official challenges. I'd watch YouTubers do these crazy challenges and then try to replicate them, but they could be a lot more streamlined if Nintendo actually gave us the option to create 3D levels. Something like story campaigns would also be interesting, maybe having open-ended objectives and having a full world, because while it is a lot of work, you know there would be plenty of people who design great things. However, Nintendo might think this would be replacing their next 3D Mario game, so I don't think something like that would happen. So there's going to be a lot of challenges if Nintendo does this. Of course, this all sounds amazing, but there are real obstacles. Making 3D levels is way more complicated than just dragging and dropping blocks on a grid. Nintendo would need to simplify the tools so they're accessible while still deep enough for hardcore creators. It would need to be simple enough where it feels like anyone could at least pick it up and do something, but also be detailed enough so people can design really creative levels. There'd also need to be a smart way to handle camera control. Do they lock the camera like 3D World? Do they allow free cameras like Odyssey? Like, how do you keep it intuitive? It's kind of a design hurdle, but if any company can strike the balance, I do trust Nintendo with this. Because say what you will about them, but their games are usually very well optimized. Alright, so what if Nintendo doesn't go 3D? What if we get a new Mario Maker, but it's just 2D games? I think the obvious thing is we'd get more styles. Mario Maker 2 gave us Mario 1, 3 World, New Super Mario Bros., and a separate Super Mario 3D World mode. A third game could expand this list further, and the obvious pick is Super Mario Wonder. It already has a distinct visual style, unique power-ups like the elephant fruit, and wonder effects that completely transform levels. Adding a Wonder editor would let players create wacky, unpredictable stages where pipes slither like snakes, where pipes move around, piranha plants burst into musical numbers, or Mario suddenly turns into a balloon. Other styles could include deeper cuts like the Yoshi's Island aesthetic with its flutter jump mechanics, even though it's not really a Mario game, so that's why I don't think they would add it, but I think it's still worth mentioning. Maybe even Wario Land inspired stages, which again is not really a Mario game, but still give fans another way to make creative levels. And then something else Nintendo could do that would be really unexpected would be maybe to give us something like Super Paper Mario, just that aesthetic. Maybe not the 3D mechanic, because again, if they're not adding 3D games, I don't think they're going to add that mechanic, but even just having something like the art style, like, would be really cool. Mario Maker 2 also did leave a lot on the table. You never got something like the hammer suit from Mario 3, the blue shell from New Super Mario Bros. DS, or even the Tanuki statue ability. A new entry could go all in on power-ups, letting players design levels around classic abilities that never returned. On top of that, Nintendo could add new bosses. Right now, outside of Bowser, Bowser Jr., and Boom Boom, the roster is pretty thin. Imagine being able to place King Babam, Petey Piranha, or even custom boss arenas where you decide attack patterns. That alone would make levels feel more complete instead of just like obstacle courses. And when I say custom attack patterns, maybe you take Bowser and you're able to customize exactly what he does. I don't know if Nintendo would do this since they try to keep the character's moveset more traditional, but I think at the very least we would get something like the Koopalings in the next game. I think also to be more expansive, there would be more world building. I know Super Mario Maker 2 had something like that, but it wasn't very intuitive. Imagine being able to make a Super Mario style overworld where you can sculpt mountains, place secret exits, and even making branching paths. I think this would be really cool and give fans just a lot more reasons to play this game. And if they did something like this, I think they would also fix the online and community features. One of the most frustrating parts of Mario Maker 2 was how bare bones its online features felt. The sequel could modernize this, like add search filters that work better, maybe a hub world where you could walk around and play community levels arcade style, or even collaborative building where 2 or 3 players can create a stage together in real time. Whether there's a new Mario Maker at all, whether it's just 2D games, whether they add 3D games, I think it's very likely we get it at some point soon, because it has been 5 years. Nintendo's going going to want one of their biggest series on the Switch too, especially early on. There's like an infinite amount of things Nintendo can do here. As of the time of writing, we still don't know what Nintendo's doing for Mario's 40th anniversary. I don't think Nintendo would just announce this and say it's coming out right away. I think maybe they would announce it for 2026, but have the announcement be like a 40th anniversary thing, or maybe give us some sort of demo. But anyway, this video is just speculation because I'm a big Super Mario Maker fan. It was one of my favorite games on the Wii U, and I played it a lot on Switch as well. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think that Nintendo's actually going to make a Mario Maker 3? Do you think it's going to be Mario Maker 3D? And what features would you want to see? Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. This has been Domain with Game Domain.